Thank you for coming to this session. My name's Justin Askew and I have been Delivery Capability Manager at Bupa, which is a rather odd and grandiose job title. So basically, while I was at Bupa, I was working, I'd been at Bupa for some reasonable time when we first started looking to move to a more agile way of working, and I became part of the core team that was there to provide internal consultancy and agile and Kanban capability as we moved forward. It was a small team, and that's what I was doing. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about where we started and why we changed. So you'll see my slides tend to be fairly lacking in words. So funnel. Imagine yourself in a restaurant where all of the people who are front of house are out taking orders from everybody they can find, bringing all the food orders back to the house, shoving them through the hatch and expecting you to deliver. We had a situation, I guess, that's not that unusual in that we had a specialist area which dealt with demand, and that area looked at demand regardless of the collected demand, regardless of the amount of supply that we were able to provide in order to turn that into real things. So guess what happened? People were sitting at their tables waiting for ideas that they'd had for their food orders that were never going to be delivered. We got to a point where we needed to change really to build more confidence from the business that we could deliver things that were going to be of value to them in a reasonable time frame. We'd also got, frankly, a little bit behind the curve as the market leader, and other companies had more effective propositions on the web they were able to sell where we weren't, and that kind of thing. So we needed to do something really to shake ourselves up. I think there's an element to which doing some change was a good thing, regardless of whether we'd gone towards Agile or Kanban, but just actually doing something quite different to inject a change of pace. And really, we wanted to get to a point where we could start to reduce the lead time from ideas to delivery. So I'm just going to talk a really small amount about how we changed, and we did some things that maybe might be frowned upon a little with some of the community now. So we did some change management. We looked at some of the models and we made sure that we used those to drive really a lot of communication. We played the Get Kanban game, as you can see. No adverts for our sponsors, but it was basically once we did a lot of interactive training, we got our internal training function to be able to deliver a 2-day agile training course. We had me who was able to deliver a 1-day Kanban training course, and we rolled it out to probably the agile training probably went over 350 people. My Kanban training probably went to about 140 people. And we followed this up with hiring good people like Nada, who came and worked for us as internal, as experts, and worked within the teams to help to coach and guide them. We supplemented, we had external coaches as well to start off with, external consultants to help us to get to a base level of skill where we could take it on ourselves. And then we took it on ourselves and kept it moving. Can't really stress enough the comms elements. We really had to do a lot of that. One of the things that was quite interesting was we were expecting our change to be fundamentally an IT change to start off with, because we didn't think we'd get a lot of buy-in from the broader community. We were quite naive in that, because as soon as we said, we're going to go and do this, we've done our pilots, we're going to go and do this, and we're going to do this is a big bang approach, our business customers said, yeah, okay, so are we then, we're with you on that, and it was quite a scary time. Me with my little inexperienced Scrum consultant's hat on was saying, I think we should do one team at a time and gradually move it out. And my boss went, no, we're not doing that. We've got far too much to do. They're all going agile. And I guess within about 12 months of that, we probably had 30 agile teams working across the organisation. Not all of them as small as I would have liked, so probably mostly 10 plus in size. So takeaway really is loads of communication, getting the right training in place, and keeping focus, keeping people involved. So what do we achieve? So these things, they're funnily enough, they're bugs. So I've got some charts. If we have time, we can go through them. If we don't have time, if you want to come and see me after, I'm very happy. But what we did was we managed to reduce bugs from releases from, I think one of the first set of figures I've got talks about around about 130 escaped defects from a release, and this would have been a transition from where before we were doing Agile to when we first were doing it. Then down to sort of between 50s and 70s once we got system testers involved, to finally getting UAT people working within the Scrum teams, and this was a bit of a silo breakthrough. And having releases that were showing between none and 7 bugs. So by actually beginning to be able to make the boundaries between the traditional silos slightly more fuzzy, we were able to start to reduce significantly the defects and increase significantly the quality. And that obviously had a big effect on us being able to deliver value against value demand rather than failure demand. So while we were generating a load of bugs, we spent a load of time fixing bugs. Guess what? And actually on some occasions we spent a load of time fixing bugs that had been raised by people who were doing UAT who weren't really that experienced and weren't sitting with the team and didn't get immersed enough in the stories, and actually a third of the bugs they created weren't bugs. And then we had to investigate them. And guess what bugs are hardest to find? The ones that aren't bugs sometimes. So we also increased the number of releases that we did from sort of 1 to 2 major releases a year to 4 to 5 releases a year, maybe 6 for some of the years, plus a lot more sort of smaller incremental releases. So we got stuff out a lot quicker, and we started to see that improving our relationship in demand. So I shamelessly nicked this off the internet. It said as long as I left that on there, they were happy. So where it hurts, so some of the places it hurt, I won't pretend that we didn't have challenges around siloed ways of working. We were changing an awful lot of stuff for our organisation, and when you change a lot of things, there is potential for winners and losers, and people protect their own estates. So we had quite a lot of impact in the area of IS initially because we had sponsorship from our CIO, and we did have genuine support, I think, from other areas that interacted with us, but the support was caveated, I think, by how much impact is this having on how we're going to work and how we can improve, which is, I guess, not to be completely unexpected. And we saw a different acceptance of change across the value stream. So where does it still hurt? So we've been doing this now for a few years. I think there's still an element of we've got very adept at doing the work within the technical area. We've made a lot of improvements. The Kanban work particularly has been very easy to roll out. It's been driven by demand from people who just have seen it working elsewhere and want the opportunity to be able to do things better themselves. So it was quite different from when we started. It was a pull initiative, whereas the initial change to Agile was very much a push initiative, I think. We still have challenges around things like understanding what the best operating model is once we start to really scale this stuff up, and how we keep it scaled and flowing and keeping everyone satisfied, how we actually kind of start to move our value stream out further than the development area. And by development, I mean development and test and things that were generally the IT kind of shop. And so we've looked at, we've looked at some of the scaling models. I think I haven't looked in a huge amount of detail, but I have personal skepticism that scaling something like this is a pattern. So, and I'm a bit worried about introducing something that reduces people's opportunity for having to engage their brains and reflect and think about what they're going to be doing going forward in order to make things work better. So I think what we need to do is we still need to get if you see this log as a kind of ridiculous metaphor for a value stream, but a value stream, we still need to align behind that value stream. And one of the big challenges is actually getting through into the business and having that aligned all the way through. So where do I see us needing to go next in terms of developing our capability as an organisation? So one of the key things I think we need to think about is, and I'm not talking for everybody here, it would probably be a little unfair if that was the case, but I think we need to, as technicians and as people who come from a techie background, we need to understand a lot of the good stuff that's been coming out in the conference over the last couple of days around actually how do we get better at influencing, how do we build stakeholder relationships that are outside of our world. I've spoken to people who've said, I've taken a perfectly logical argument out to the business. Look, A, B, C, D, it's almost mathematical proof of why we should do this. And they've gone, nah, you're joking, aren't you? And effectively, I think we frame the world, and like I say, I use this loosely, but as IT professionals, we tend to frame the world in very technical, procedural type of ways. And if we want to sit at the big table with the others and actually have them all pulling the stick in the same direction, we need to start to build good, effective relationships, and we need to do the things that the marketing and sales guys find quite easy. And I think that's quite a challenge for us, but I think if we want to scale how we work, we need to build that capability. I have some data if anyone wants to look afterwards. We are fairly short of time this afternoon. So I'd like really to ask if there's any questions now, I think. Hello.
About the testing, when you found it's quite a specific question. So
yeah, okay.
You found that the guys doing the testing, you said they're inexperienced, and that was producing bugs. The thing I've always found that was a little bit interesting is that they may not be good testers in the traditional sense, but the fact that they're finding them as bugs is a highlight that there's a problem with software, maybe in terms of usability, that it isn't easy enough to use, and that's valuable knowledge as well. Do you think you maybe lost that bit when you got the teams to get the problem?
I understand what you're saying, and I think there would be danger of it. The system, I think, has a number of workarounds in it, and it's always been worrying to me that actually we've been counting these workarounds as no faults, whereas actually they're workarounds, and the people who were testing probably have a clearer understanding of how difficult that is from a usability perspective. So I think it's a good point, and the guys in the UACT team were kind of used to going, oh yeah, that's was an agreed no fault in release, 6.4. We released that years ago. That's fine. It's a good point. Anything else? Thank you very much for your time. If you're interested in any info, come and see me. Otherwise, thank you very much.